Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TVET First Industrial Electronics N5 webinar. This follows on from the N4, which was very successfully held a few months ago. We have our author and presenter, Clifford Tobayani. I think most of you are using his textbook. It'll also be a great opportunity for you to engage with him on any issues you're having around the new syllabus. But today's focus is on unpacking all the changes in the Industrial Electronics N5 syllabus. So I'd like to hand over to our presenter and author, Clifford. Over to you, Clifford. You may start.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I'm Clifford, and I will be your presenter in today's session. And once again, let me thank you, good people, for joining us and giving us the platform to showcase what are the changes on the curriculum for Industrial Electronics N5, as well as what TVET First has to offer with regards to the support of lecturers and students in the classroom setting. Just for today, I want to believe that all microphones are switched off, and the question and answer sessions will be at the end of the presentation. And then I want to believe that at the question and answer session, we will be able to engage. Either it could be content-based or it could be just on the curriculum changes. I also want to believe that every one of us already had received our promo copies, so most of the questions might as well arise from what you have already seen from the book, and then that will enable us to have proper discussions. Now, in this webinar today, we're just going to be doing some curriculum reviews, looking at the outcomes of the new 2024 curriculum, and we'll also discuss the impact of these changes in our day-to-day teaching lives, and at the same time also looking at what the TVET First Industrial Electronics N5 has to offer to support our day-to-day running. Now, this curriculum is to be implemented from next trimester, September 2024. It means that the November-December examination would be based on the new curriculum for Industrial Electronics N5. The old one will no longer be in use. Now, the general aim of this curriculum is to equip students with the knowledge and fundamental principle of the electronic industry. This is also a build-up from the N4 curriculum to ensure that our students have the required knowledge and skills to overcome the mostly changing technological workplace requirements and industries, and to also serve to improve their skills and also their career prospects. Looking at the specific aim of this curriculum, this is to ensure that our students have proper knowledge and understanding of the terminological or technological principle of practices such as power supplies and controls, design procedures of circuitry, process controls, amplification, integrated circuit, and transducers, which is basically what industrial electronics is all about. The external examination will still have 100 marks for 3 hours, and the standard exam instructions will still apply. Now, automatically, the question paper will still have a formula sheet provided, and the students will be able to allowed to use their scientific calculators. No programmable calculators, copying or open book, and the use of other documents from the exam center. Now, in the previous curriculum, Industrial Electronics N5 had a total of 9 modules. But now all these 9 modules have been integrated to 8 modules. It means that there's that great chance that the examiner might set question 1 up to question 8 and no longer up to question 9. Now, here is one of the most important knowledge that I think most lecturers are unaware of in terms of the promotional mark. If you recall, or this is what you know, that in the report 191 engineering studies, there are 2 types of assessments, which is test 1 and test 2. Test 1 weighing 30% of the curriculum, test 2 weighing 70% of the curriculum. And the ICAS mark for a student to qualify to sit for an examination is 40%. But also take into consideration that the ICAS mark will also be used when calculating the final mark for the students to progress to the next level. As you can see the formula below there, the promotional mark will be calculated by converting the ICAS mark of that particular student down to 30%. It means that if the qualifying mark for that student, perhaps they qualified with 65%, 30% of that 65 will be used, added up to 70% of their final examination mark, combined together to give them their promotional mark. And all this might be new to some of you, but it is there in the curriculum. And if you haven't gotten a copy of the new syllabus, I want to believe that you can also indicate by chat tab. Again, must be able to provide it to you. Now let us look at some of the changes briefly with the 8 modules that we have. We have module 1, which is still alternating current theory. There are no much changes there, but what the curriculum did is it detailedly described what is it a learner must know and what is it that will be contained in the final examination. Though there's that detailed description of what exactly is now required in that particular module, or basically in all these modules. Module 2, the power supply, the old content from the old curriculum will still be there as is, and there will just be a little of new content being added in that module. We'll also discuss those as we move. Module 3, before it was named transducer and transistor amplifier, pardon me, it was transistor amplifiers, but now it's simply called amplifiers. And it contains the old information from the old curriculum, transistor amplifiers, and it was also merged with the old module 4 content, which is operational amplifiers. Now both merged to one module. Module 4, integrated circuits. In the old curriculum, this was module 5, integrated circuit, but it is now moved to module 4 to be integrated circuit and transducers being module 6 in the old curriculum. They are now both being merged to form one module called integrated circuits and transducers. We look at the reasons behind that as we continue. Module 5, electronic phase control, it was in module 7 from the old curriculum. It is now moved to module 5. Measuring instruments in the old curriculum, it was module 8. It has also been moved to module 6. Module 7, oscillators, moved from old module 9. This movement of this module is such that everything can be squeezed all together. And then there is a new content in industrial electronics and 5, the liquid crystal display. It's not a new content altogether because we already have this module in industrial electronics and 4, but it's just that it was also introduced in N5. Now, let us look at the mark allocation, the module mark allocation in this book. If you can look at the mark distribution now in this module, it's way different from the old curriculum. Now, module 1 will have a weighting of 15 marks. Module 2, 3, and 4, they will all have 15 marks, whilst 5, 6, 7, and 8 will have a weighing of 10, 10, 10, 10 marks. It is different from what the distribution of mark was before, and this is because of the merging of the modules, the new, old, and new contents being merged all together. But here is how these marks are distributed in the final examination. Now, when an examiner sets a paper, this is what they also look at. They will also look at the specific knowledge and understanding of the curriculum, of the content in class. And the mark allocation to that will be between 30 and 40, just for knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding, remember that it includes defining, stating operating principle. That is part of knowledge and understanding of a certain module or certain concept. Application would include function of devices, perhaps if they are speaking of a certain function or application of devices, of components. And also it will also at the same time includes calculation. Now that will have a mark weighing of between 45 and 50, while analysis and synthesis evaluation, that is the design of circuitry, drawings, it will have a mark of between 10 to 25. This is basically how marks are being distributed in this curriculum, and this is what our student must know. And I want to believe that it is also important for you as a lecturer to know that this will also assist you when you are setting your ICAS test. Remember, colleagues, let me emphasize on this. For us to have, or for us to be able to expose our student to exam questions, you cannot set ICAS tests if you're not using the syllabus. The syllabus comes with preset questions. These preset questions are exactly what a student would expect in the exam room, whether rephrased or whatsoever. So if we are using or we are setting those tests for the ICAS, we don't just use a textbook or just think of a question and then you put it in the test. That will not serve as the best interest of the students, because you'd find that the student will go into the exam room and sees a question that they've never seen before. It's because we normally set what we think should be set in the test. But in actual fact, you should use the syllabus to guide you in setting those tests. You ask a question related to what the syllabus wants the student to know. This assists the student to be exposed to exam type of questions, because even the examiner uses the same procedure. They use the syllabus, they use the materials provided to them to then set the paper, but also that paper should be with respect to the curriculum. Now, module 1, the alternating current theory, like I said, there are no changes in this curriculum, but there has been a detailed explanation of what is it that one should expect. Now, on completion of this module, a student would have to learn the following. They would be able to understand what alternating current theory is, their diagrams, definition, operating principle. Basically, we'll be dealing with RL and RC circuits. That will be your RC differentiator, integrator, RL differentiator and integrator, your capacitive coupling, your harmonics, your RLC circuit using complex numbers, as well as resonance in RLC circuits, whether parallel or series. This is just from the old curriculum, and that information still remains as is. But what's nice about this is that there isn't any new thing, because this is still part of the information that the student would have collected from N4. So they're integrating that to this one. Module 2, you would still be doing your typical power supply, which is your power supplies. If you remember very well, a power supply has 4 main components, which is your transformer, your rectifier, your filter, and your voltage regulator at the end. Now, in the old curriculum, there wasn't much discussion about the transformer. The only part which was then jumped to after the typical power supply was straight to rectification, filtering, voltage multiplication, and regulation. But in this curriculum, there is a concise description that we must move step by step. It's the typical power supply, its category and components. And then before you may move to your rectifier, you must start with your transformers. This is a new content in Industrial N5, but the transformer and sine wave has been there, something that they've done in Industrial Electronics N2, especially the sine wave part, where they are calculating they are using their basic knowledge of calculating RMS values, calculating the voltage, instantaneous voltage, instantaneous current. If you remember those types of equations, those have now been integrated here. So they must also be having the knowledge of calculating the current ratio, voltage ratio, and current ratio, which is also a knowledge that is being discussed in N4 under power supplies. So the only difference is that it is now being integrated in N5, but then the information for you as a lecturer is not new. It's something that you already know, so you would not need much training on that. Module 3, like I said, it was previously known as transistor amplifiers from the old curriculum, but now they merged that module, which is the transistor amplifiers and operational amplifiers, and it is now just termed amplifiers. It has a mark weighing of 15%. Here, we just have 2 learning outcomes or learning units, which is transistors and operational amplifiers. Now, there is no new content added here. The information from the old curriculum is still as is. But like I said, the curriculum then detailedly explained what is it that a student must know after completion of that module. Now, altogether, these 2 units, which were previously separated modules, will have a weighting of 15%. Module 4, which is the integrated circuits and transducers, a merger of old module 5, IC, and module 6, transducers. No new content added, but what we did is that as the curriculum has prescribed for specific detailing, that is what the TVET first book has done here, to even bring in clear structuring by the TVET first book. Now, we've seen that in most, more particularly when we are dealing with transducers. I, for one, I want to believe that all students know transducers, but it is the terminologies that may hinder the correct definition of what a transducer might be. So in the TVET first book, we've also included some photographs, practical photographs, general photographs that anyone can just find in any electronic device lying around, so that it can be interpreted in all components that we discuss in this book. But basically, there's no much changes here. It's just a merger of 2 modules. Electronic phase control, no changes at all. And there's only 1 learning unit or learning content in this module, which is the SCR, the silicon controlled rectifier. Now, the emphasis on this one is that a student must then be able to differentiate in these thyristors the difference between a silicon controlled rectifier and a triac. And they must also be able to state similarities between the 2, of which it is also described in detail in the book. What we did is we have made sure that similarities are more visible as well as differences are more visible. This is in terms of their operation. How do you turn on an SCR? How do you turn on a triac? How do you turn off an SCR and a triac? Detailedly explained in the book. Measuring instruments, still learning 1 unit, the analog to digital signals. The information from the old curriculum still applies in this module. Nothing much has changed. But like I said, in all of these modules, the curriculum has then required some specific detailing of all the components and operating principle in the book. So that is what TVET First has to offer. Oscilloscope as well, there's only 1 learning unit. There isn't any changes, only detailing as well. Same applies both to the liquid crystal display. Now, with the liquid crystal display, it's just a simple build up from what they already know, from what the students already know from N4. Now, if you remember the learning outcomes in N4, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 3, if not 4 of them. 3, just to list, to define what a liquid crystal display is, to list the types of liquid crystal displays, and also to list the application of liquid crystal display. Those were the only 3 learning outcomes. But in N5, there's just some small addition, the advantages, disadvantages, factors to be considered when selecting this liquid crystal display or when manufacturing or constructing a liquid crystal display, the operating principle, and also drawing the diagram of a liquid crystal display. It is detailedly placed in the book. This is just the only new module being added here in Industrial Electronics N5. Now, let us look at what we in this textbook have. What is it that is exciting? What is it that is there to support you as a lecturer? What is it that is there to make your work much more simpler in your classroom setting? I want to believe that those who had already used Industrial Electronics N4 have received quite a few feedbacks from other colleges. And most definitely people are excited about it and how it eases their work. I want to believe that you'd also find Industrial Electronics N5 quite similar. Now in the book, we have 3, in the package of book of this contents, we have 3 books. There is the student book that is obviously used by the students. There is the lecturer guide as well as the workbook. The workbook, very nice, I tell you. But with the student book and lecturer guide, this is just a standard that you're already having. You already know this, how it works and all. But we'll review each as we move. Now, in the comprehensive lecturer guide, you would have the background information in terms of the curriculum. You'd also have your suggested teaching plan. There you'd get a detailed teaching plan on how to successfully teach this subject. Remember, ideally our trimester is only 10 weeks, ideally. But in practice, you'd realize that it's way less than that, way less than that. Because in between, you'd have to squeeze in registration, you'd have to squeeze in induction and orientation of students, you have to squeeze in 2 wasteful weeks of assessment tasks, verifications, and so forth. So you'd realize that you have less teaching time. So in this book, there is a proper suggested teaching plan that will allow you to maneuver through those squeezed times. And there are many more. There's also some lesson plan templates, which is usable. You can copy. This is a DHET approved lesson plan. This will also save you in the event of site-based assessment where you are found to use the wrong lesson plan. There's comprehensive answers to all activities and summative assessment in the student book, a memorandum to a practice exam that is in the student book. Now, the practice exam in the student book serves to expose the student on what is it they should expect during the examination for the new curriculum. So the memorandum is also included in your lecturer guide. One may choose to use that practice exam as the class test, just to check. You may choose to use it just at the end of all your assessment to check the level of understanding for your students. Or you may choose to split it into two and use it for test 1 and test 2. That will also be a good idea to, early expose your students to the examination. Workbook would provide spaces for all answers. This book is designed to go hand in hand with a student book. When you issue your student book, you also issue the workbook to the student. I also use this, it's fantastic. So it provides spaces for answers to all student activities, making it ideal for classroom and homework use. It also helps the students to engage meaningfully with the activities in the student book. It also keeps all answers to activities and summative assessment neatly organized and together. Listen, it's easier for you to check if your homework was written by the student, because you can just, use that student book as a schedule to say, activity 1.1, you do it on this day, you do it on that day, and you can just use that book to check progress of the students. It also provides a what you should know boxes to help students revise basic concepts for tackling each module much easier. That also assists in the preparation of examination. Now, just a glimpse of what's inside the student book. As you can see there, you'd find a question, maybe just like this one in figure 1.19, the RL differentiator. And there are spaces provided for the student, to write in their answers. That's what's fun about this workbook. Now, the special features in the student book are as follows. You are going to have an overview and outcome of each and every module in the student book. It means that before a student dives right in, or before you start teaching, this is what you must ensure that the student understands at the end of the module, which is the overview. There's also a starter activity, which is just 3 questions, quickly summarizing the overview and at the same time checking their previous knowledge of the subject. This starter activity will assist you to know what the student understands about this module and what is it or how much you should then deliver to that particular student. There are comprehensive, detailed examples in the book. These examples are mostly extracted from previous examination papers so that it can be incorporated here. The student will use that. It will assist them to indirectly practice for the examination. There are activities in the book. These activities are also extracted from examination papers, obviously in measure with the new curriculum. Because remember, I said that you cannot come up with a question, right, if you don't use the curriculum. So these questions are specifically designed for you to also be able to extract this type of questions if you don't have the curriculum, and use them for your class test. And these questions expose our students to the exam type of questions. The biggest part that I like the most, which is also there in Industrial Electronics N4, is the QR code for videos. Now, we try by all means that in all activities, and I mean examples, some examples which are a bit critical, we ensure that we have videos for those examples and for those types of modules, such that we are trying to accommodate distant learners, those who are unable to attend classes. Perhaps they are part-time students or just distant learning, and they might not even have adequate time to come on campus for consultation. They can simply use the QR codes to send them directly to a video that explains that particular calculations, just like that. So this is to cater for self-studying students. And also, it also assists in new lecturers. You know, we understand that in our colleges, the subjects may be allocated differently per trimester, and it will be the first time maybe for you teaching that subject. It could have been some time before you did that subject. The QR codes can come in handy to also prepare you for the classroom. So that is one amazing feature that I like. Diagrams and photographs, like I said before, we ensure that all of these mimic the real world components, more particularly the photographs. When we talk about the DIP, the PDIP, when we talk about the TSSOP, the MSOP, a student must be able to see what you are talking about. Unlike just, mentioning names, and a student is not exposed to the actual pictures. So we try to bring in all those photographs, incorporate it in the book, so that a student can also have an idea and an understanding and a picture of what you're talking about when you talk about a 555 timer integrated circuit. What is that 555 timer integrated circuit, or 555 pin? So that even if they meet something like that in the workplace, they could simply identify that component. Because of the language that is mostly used in workplace industries, we try by all means in the TVET first book to interpret those in a form of notes and vocabulary, so that it is easier for a student to just peruse through. It also helps in assisting them to understand the language of the examiner in the exam center. These notes and vocab is also included in a glossary at the end of the book. So for each and every module, there's a summary. The summary is in relation with what the curriculum requires, and it also reflects on what, if it reflects on if we have covered everything that is prescribed by the curriculum in the book. So it will also assist you as a lecturer to do some review after a module to check, have I covered all of this? It will reflect on your summary. If you find a point that you did not cover in the summary, then it's easier for you to go back and look at that point. There's a summative assessment, which also mimics the examination. These are from previous examination papers. If you were to check some question papers from 2022, all trimesters from 2021, 2022, 3, and early trimesters this year, you'd realize that those questions have been incorporated in the summative assessment. And also, with respect to the new curriculum, we also incorporate what a student should expect in the upcoming examination. This again, colleagues, is to assist you as a lecturer to not struggle, more particularly when you want to assess your students. You can simply pick questions from any activity in that module, from any summative assessment question in that module. Each and every question is exam compliant. It exposes the student to exam type of question. Even the language that is used there exposes the students. This will assist them such that when they enter into the exam room, they don't get anxious by seeing new questions. Like I said, all the vocabs and notes in each and every module are then collectively or collected and combined to one of the most amazing pages in the book, which is a glossary. This assists the students to be exposed in exam type of questions. Now, there's the practice exam, we've already spoken about it, and the practice exam memorandum, we've already spoken about it. Those are the packages that we get in the TVET first textbook. Now, just a brief review of what we've discussed. We've highlighted the significant changes in the curriculum for industrial electronics. And we've looked at the impact of those changes for the upcoming trimesters. And at the same time, we've also discussed how the TVET first book, the updated and improved, will help you and lecturers succeed in this curriculum. And good people, we have ensured that in the book, everything is accurately detailed. There isn't any loophole in respect to the curriculum. I say this with confidence because even the report from the approval of the book from the DHET speaks amazingly of the details in the book. So this is a go-getter type of a book, will assist to promote our students to the next level. Thank you very much, colleagues, for this opportunity. And if there are any questions, either, like I said, it could be content-based, there's certain part of the content that you'd like us to discuss, or about the curriculum, we may use this opportunity to do that now. Thank you.
Please unmute yourself and you may raise your question with Clifford. Sinatile Malloy, you are okay. You can now unmute.
Hi. Yes.
Please go ahead.
This is so interesting, ne? Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for the presentation. Yes. What I'm worried about, what is interesting about this, I saw in one of the workbooks, I'm not too sure whether, because I don't have the books in front of me right now, which is having the new formula sheet for the student to be able to familiarize themselves. Ne? But with the N4, there was nothing of that sort. Whereas we as lecturers, or I as a lecturer, I wanted to infuse new questions, new question, formulas that are there, which are new formulas in these new modules. But now I couldn't with the N4s. With this one, it is there. So I do not know whether we will be able to get something like that in the future for the N4s, because I saw with the N5 it is very good. So interesting.
Thank
Clifford,
you
your
very much.
response? Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Snotile. What we tried to do with the N4, because we were not quite too sure that some of these formulas, especially for the new contents in N4, were going to be included by the examiner in the question papers. We tried to be so cautious not to include too much of the new formulas in the formula sheet at the back of the student book, only to find that in the examination, those formulas are not there. It's a bit dangerous to expose and teach the student that this formula they will find, only to find that the formula is not there. Hence, we tried that some of those new formulas are in formula boxes inside the student book. But obviously, with the newer editions, having now seen how the examination goes, we'll then incorporate, everything that is then required to be in the examination paper as much as possible. And thank you once again. If you have checked the Industrial N5 book, it is indeed amazing. And thank you that you've noticed that. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Clifford, if you want to share your email and contact, I don't know if you put it up on screen already. just for people to liaise with you, engage with you, post this presentation. If they have any other questions they would like to discuss with you, maybe you can just put up your email again. So they can make a note of it, and then they can, I'm sure people will have questions after this, and I think they could just contact you via email.
Yeah, that's true. I am not seeing an opt-in here. Should I just type it on the?
Yeah, just type it on a new slide. That's fine. Just add the slide, and you can type it in.
You can find me here. There.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Clifford. Yeah, you can just do a screenshot, and you can save Clifford's details, and then you can just liaise with him directly if you have anything further you'd like to discuss. I don't see anybody else wanting to raise a question at this stage, so we can bring the session to a close. Thank you, Clifford, for the excellent presentation, all the work you did on the textbook. I'm sure, gauging from the N4 book, the lecturers are going to love the N5 as well.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for attending.